Yo, what is up, YouTube? It's your boy Legend, and I am back with another video. You already know what this is just by looking at the thumbnail. What if Naruto was forced to go back in time? Part 5. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe while you at it. But without further ado, let's just get into this intro so we can start this What If. It had been 3 weeks since the village learned the truth. 3 weeks since Danzo Chimera's secret spilled into the light, and the name Naruto Uzumaki reclaimed its place not as a weapon, not as a vessel, but as a child, the son of heroes. In that time, the village had become quieter all around. People stared less and bowed more. No more dared whisper when they thought he wasn't listening. But inside the small apartment on the edge of the village, where the late sun filtered through gauzy curtains and dust motes danced in the warmth, time passed more simply. Inside of the modest rooms, young Naruto sat cross-legged on the wooden floor, brows furrowed in absolute concentration. His right hand trembled slightly as blue chakra pulled in his palm, coalescing into a weakly swirling sphere. Sparks of instability cracked around its edge as it wobbled in mid-formation. Sweat rolled down his temple, but he held firm, gritting his teeth in determination. Across from him, the older Naruto watched silently, knees up, one arm resting casually on top. He didn't interrupt, not yet. He'd seen this 6 times already, each attempt closer than the last. And he could tell by the way the chakra quivered, this one would fail too. Sure enough, the Rasengan began to fracture. Just before it burst, the older Naruto extended a finger and pressed it lightly against the younger boy's wrist. The chakra immediately fizzled out. Young Naruto scowled in frustration. "Hey! Calm down," the older Naruto said, his voice even and firm. "You're doing everything right. Your shape manipulation solid, but you're moving the chakra too slow." The boy blinked, shoulders still tense. Too slow? Naruto nodded and lifted his own head, forming a tiny, perfectly balanced Rasengan in a single motion. The soft, high-pitched hum of spinning chakra filled the space between them. The rotation is where 60% of the power comes from. Speed it up. All that chakra you're controlling, you've got to spin it faster, like way faster. He let the Rasengan dissipate with a faint pop, then ruffled the younger one's hair. "You've got the talent. Just fine-tune the control." Before the boy could protest or try again, the front door opened with a click and a burst of fresh air. Heavy footsteps followed in. "Hey, Naruto, come help me with these groceries," Yugito called from the entryway, her voice carrying the telltale strain of overloaded arms and minor annoyance. 2 heads poked out from the hallway at the same time, blonde, identical in shape and shade, both answering in perfect unison. "Yeah?" Yugito blinked once, then slowly, deliberately rubbed her face with the palm of her hand, dragging it down with exaggerated sigh. "Every single time." She balanced the bags on her hip and gave them both a look of tired exasperation. "You know what? I'm done with this. From now on, I'm just calling the older one Uzumaki. At least that way, I don't summon a clone army every time I open my mouth." She turned to the younger Naruto with a flick of her chin. Naruto, go back to what you were doing. Try not to blow a hole through the floor. The younger Naruto blinked, then shuffled back towards his room, muttering under his breath about how it was definitely going to work the seventh time. The older Naruto Uzumaki now apparently chuckled low in his throat and stepped forward, plucking two bags from her arms without a word. They moved easily in sync toward the kitchen, shoulders brushing lightly as they passed through the narrow doorway. The groceries rustled as they began unpacking in rhythm, one placing items on the counter, the other storing and sorting things with practiced efficiency. Yugito peeked at him from the corner of her eye, her earlier irritation fading. Uzumaki, she said, testing the new label. He smirked. Sounds weird. You'll get used to it, she replied, tossing him a roll of paper towels. Not the name, he said, catching it easily. The part where we live in the house with the kid version of me who's already getting attitude. Yugito laughed, the sound soft and genuine, filling the quiet kitchen like sunlight breaking through clouds. The kitchen was bathed in a soft glow of the early evening sun, golden light spilling across the countertops and warming the wooden cabinets. The comforting click of glass jars and rustle of packaging filled the air as Uzumaki and Yugito moved around each other in quiet rhythm, unpacking the last of the groceries. Despite the simplicity of the task, there was a comfort to it. Two people moving in sync, occasionally brushing shoulders or stepping around each other with an ease born of familiarity. I'm planning to stop by the Mist Village in a few weeks, Uzumaki said as he tucked a packet of dried noodles into the pantry. A few people I need to talk to. Tensions are cooling over there. Well, they should be, I think. And I figured now's the right time to smooth things over. Yugito crouched down by the fridge, with a container of eggs in her hand, paused mid-motion. Really? You're heading all the way to the mist? Yeah. Figure I might be able to do some good over there, patch a few things up. He glanced her way with a half smile. You thinking of coming? She turned away quickly, sliding the eggs into the bottom shelf with unnecessary focus. I mean, sure. I don't have business there or anything, but it'd be good to get out of this village for a while, stretch my legs and, you know. He raised an eyebrow. And what? Yugito shut the fridge a bit too forcefully and stood up, brushing a few stray blonde strands from her face. And someone needs to make sure you don't make a mess of diplomacy. The older Naruto chuckled, the sound low and rich, but didn't press further. He didn't need to hear her say more. She hadn't been planning to leave the village anytime soon, and certainly not to a place with no ties to her at all. But now she was volunteering because he was going. The realization made something stir in his chest, warm and unfamiliar. But he tamped it down, just like she did. Neither of them said what they really meant. Their conversation shifted naturally to the final puzzle of their plan, whether or not they were going to bring the younger Naruto. I've been training him, Uzumaki said, placing a small bundle of apples in a wooden bowl on the table. He's growing fast. He's growing stronger every day, but he's still a Jinchuriki. Yugito finished, her voice quiet. And this village, well, some people might still see him the way Danzo did, as a tool. They shared a heavy silence, each understanding the unspoken weight behind the words. We could leave him here, she said reluctantly. He's old enough to stay alone for a week or two, but The older Naruto shook his head, but if something happened to him while we were gone, we'd never forgive ourselves for it. Exactly. Without another word, the decision was made. They would bring Naruto with them. Yugito exhaled and turned to put the last of the supplies, some canned goods, on the highest shelf above the counter. With a small grunt, she dragged over the kitchen stool and stepped up onto it, stretching her arms high over her head. Even on her tiptoes, she was just barely able to reach. "Stubborn shelf," she muttered, trying to balance the cans. The older Naruto turned to see her wobbling slightly. Yugito? Careful. Before she could respond, the stool tipped with a sharp creak of wood. She gave a startled yelp as her balance gave out, but he was already moving. In an instant, he caught her, arms catching her mid-fall, one around her back and the other cradling her waist. The momentum brought her close, too close, their chests nearly touching. Her face was inches away from his. They froze. Her arms had instinctively wrapped around his neck. His grip tightened slowly. Not from necessity anymore, but from something else entirely. Something neither of them had spoken aloud. Their eyes met, blue and gold. There was a long, breathless pause. The world around them fell away. The ticking clock on the wall, the distant sounds of birds outside, the dull hum of chakra in the apartment walls. All of it forgotten in that fragile moment of closeness. Yugito's cheeks flushed a deep crimson. She could feel his breath against her lips. Her heart thudded traitorously in her chest. Naruto swallowed, his throat dry. His eyes drifted from a half second to her lips before he yanked them back up to meet her gaze. He wanted to say something, anything, but nothing came. Not yet. Finally, he cleared his throat softly and loosened his grip. Yugito stepped back quickly, brushing invisible dust from her pants, unable to meet his gaze. "Thanks," she muttered. "No problem," he replied, equally quiet. They both turned away at the same time, awkward in their moments now. Suddenly hyper-aware of each other. The kitchen, once warm and familiar, now buzzed with unspoken feelings and rapid heartbeats. And though they said nothing more about it, the space between them had changed. Something had shifted, and neither of them could deny it much longer. 1 week later, the sun had only just begun to rise, casting golden orange light across the rooftops of Konoha. A thin mist still clung to the streets as if reluctant to let the morning begin. As the far side of the village near the main gate, 3 figures stood in front of a quiet home, packs ready at their feet and cool air brushing against their faces. The older Naruto, the man from another future, double-checked the straps of his travel pack. The fabric was well worn but sturdy, filled with scrolls, rations, and essentials for their journey ahead. Beside it, Yugito's pack had sat ready, already loaded and prepared by him. A silent act of consideration she hadn't asked for but noticed nonetheless. And standing to the side, the younger Naruto, barely 13, chakra still clumsy but full of raw potential, held his own smaller pack over his shoulder with an eager expression on his face. He wasn't registered as a shinobi. Not yet. So the tuning exams happening within 3 days didn't apply to him. There were whispers about how he should be training under Jiraiya of the Sannin, just like in the past, but the older Naruto had already shut that down. Why would he hand his younger self off to a perverted hermit when he, the culmination of all that knowledge and more? This world's Naruto wouldn't spend 3 years learning only a bigger Rasengan or vague taijutsu basics. Nah, not on his watch. The older Naruto had a goal to make sure that his younger counterpart would be able to stand toe to toe with S rank shinobi within 3 years' time. He had the experience of wars, the precision of sage mode, the grit of surviving losses too deep to speak aloud. When the time came, he'd ask Tsunade or Shizune to take over the training to refine Junior's chakra control to a surgical edge, but that would be later. For now, the bulk of it fell on him. He tightened the last strap onto his shoulder and turned to the others. "You guys ready?" he asked. Yugito nodded, slinging her cloak over her shoulders. Her golden eyes were calm, but alert. "I've been ready." The younger Naruto grinned. "Let's go already!" As Naruto bent down to pick up both his and Yugito's pack in a single fluid motion, something clicked in his mind. A grin spread across his face, mischievous and a little smug. "I got it!" he blurted. The outburst startled Yugito, who flinched and gave him a sharp look. "What?" Naruto turned to the younger version of himself, with a gleam in his eyes. "From now on, me and Yugito are gonna call you Naruto Jr. or NJ, or just Junior." Yugito blinked, then let out a short, surprised laugh. "You shouted just to say that?" Naruto shrugged, but he was grinning like he just won something important. "Well, yeah, I can't keep saying Naruto and have the both of us answer every single time." Yugito chuckled, her hand coming up to cover her mouth as her laughter grew. Naruto's grin softened at the sound, genuine, radiant. Then his smile faltered, just slightly, because she said it. "Naruto-kun." The words echoed in his ears, like a whisper caught in the wind. His head turned slowly to look at her, his expression unreadable. "You," he began, voice slow and careful. "You called me Naruto-kun." Yugito's eyes widened in horror. She hadn't realized it, hadn't even thought about it until he pointed it out. Her lips parted to say something, anything to explain, but what came out wasn't what she wanted to say. It was just, a slip up," she said quickly, stumbling over the words. It was just in the heat of the moment. It didn't mean anything." The instant the words left her mouth, she regretted them. Didn't mean anything? What the hell was I thinking? Naruto's face didn't change at first, but then he gave a slow nod, his eyes turning away as he looked toward the dirt path leading out of the village. "Yeah," he said quietly. "You're right. It meant nothing." He turned and started walking, packs slung over his shoulder like they weighed nothing, but suddenly to him, they felt heavy. Yugito stood frozen in place, her heart twisted painfully as she watched him walk away. She wanted to scream at herself to undo what she'd said, but she couldn't. Not now. Naruto didn't look back. He hated how much it bothered him. Why did it matter to him so much? He didn't even know when it started. Maybe it was the way she carried herself. Quiet, strong, unafraid, not scared at all to challenge him. Maybe it was how easy they fell into rhythm with each other. How her laugh lit up the dullest moments. Whatever it was, it mattered now. Junior jogged to catch up, falling into step beside him as they passed under the village gates. "Hey, Naruto?" the boy asked tentatively. Naruto glanced down, masking the ache in his chest. "What is it, Junior?" The boy hesitated, then asked, "Is it really a big deal if a girl calls us Naruto-kun?" "I'm asking because, well, you brought it up with Yugito, and before I was taken by that Danzo guy, this girl, her name's Hinata, and she used to say it all the time. Naruto exhaled through his nose. He looked ahead toward the winding trail outside the village, the sun rising behind him. Sometimes it does mean something, he said carefully. Sometimes it doesn't. It can mean a girl likes you or that she's really fond of you. That's usually the only time a woman uses that suffix. Junior nodded slowly. So, if they use it, it's a good thing? Naruto's lips curled into a bitter half smile. Yeah, he said softly. It's a good thing. Then under his breath, so faint that Junior almost missed it, he added, but in my case, it's a bad thing. Junior didn't understand the weight behind those words. Not completely, but he felt the sadness in them. The kind that comes from wanting something more than you're willing to admit and being told it didn't matter. Behind them, Yugito finally began to walk. Shame burned in her face. Because she had meant it. When she called him Naruto-kun, it hadn't been a mistake. It had slipped out because part of her, maybe a very deep, hidden part, already felt that way. She wasn't ready to say it. She was scared, but now she told him it meant nothing. She stared at his back as he walked ahead, the morning wind tugging at his cloak, and whispered to herself with the pained look in her eyes. It meant everything. And with that truth locked in her chest, the three of them disappeared down the path, sunlight casting long shadows as they began their journey, carrying not just bags, but words unspoken, feelings unexplored, and hopes still aching to be understood. And yes, guys, that is going to be it for this episode right now. I'm deliberately trying to make this like little love triangle, square, whatever it's going to be. I'm trying to make it deliberately slow because I want a lot of emotions to go through a lot of the characters, and basically I want to use basically the love that each character has for each other to basically cause growth within one another, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me. But yeah, that's why I'm taking my time with this. That's why it's going so slow. But if you guys like the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe while you're at it. But without further ado, I'm out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Stay blessed, y'all.